Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern. and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to Nashville Super Speedway as it makes its debut on the Duracell Cup Series schedule and hosts the 29th race of the 6th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. Playoff race number 3, elimination race number 1. It's the first of 3 crunch times here this season, as at the end of the day, we will be eliminating 4 drivers from championship contention. 12 drivers will move on, and at this point in time, no driver has locked themselves into the next round. Our last 2 victories have been claimed by non-playoff contenders. Caleb Fogler back at Gateway, and last week Matt Haas picked up his first win on the season at Chatham. So it's really all going to come down to points here today. Some drivers come into this race with a nice little cushion, others are right around that cut line, and there's about 4 drivers that are right now below the cut line that they're going to be controlling their own destiny today, because right now they have to be on the offensive. Everybody else has to be on the defensive if they're going to move their way into the next round of the playoffs. Let's bring up that playoff grid right now and show you what I'm talking about. So a couple of drivers that can breathe a little sigh of relief. They just need to finish up maybe inside of the top 20 and they should be safe. Looking at Nick Gunther, Laura Chung, who come into this race tied for the playoffs points lead. And I would put Jack Dunnard in that category as well. I think those 3, if they could just have a solid outing today, avoid a DNF, putting themselves in a maybe precarious situation near the end of this race, they should be safe to move on. Charles Sanford, Ali Oliera, Kyle Matthews, plus 16 to 17 ahead of the cut line. They don't need a super great run here today, so that gives them a little bit of leeway, but they are kind of on the seesaw area. If they have a bad performance today, they could be down around that cut line by the time we get to the conclusion of this race. And then, of course, you've got just that clump down there, 9th place on down. Michael Norman plus 7, Destin Bolin plus 3, Zachary Fitzwater plus 2, and then Quentin Moore, that cut line driver, in 12th place. That is where a lot of the back and forth can take place. But you notice the drivers down below the cut line, 10 points back, 2-time winner Mitchell Collins, Rick Johnson 14 back, 15 back for Will Hoer. They have to be on the offensive, as I said, because they need to not only pass cars on the racetrack that are non-playoff contenders, but they got to finish ahead of Moore, Fitzwater, Bolin by a number of spots to be able to move up above said cut line. Ryan Butcher said this last week after his DNF at Chatham. I feel the 78 car is in a must-win situation here today, minus 30 below the cut line. That's 64 points behind the playoff co-points leaders, Nick Gunther and Laura Chung. Ryan Butcher absolutely has to win here today, I do believe, for him to be able to move on to the next round of the playoffs. But it should be an interesting one here today. Nashville Super Speedway, a track where we're going to see a lot of passes, I think, all the way through the field. But a couple of drivers that put emphasis on good starting track position through qualifying are also some playoff drivers. RJ Bishop going to be on the pole position. RJ is 8th in playoffs coming into this race, 12 points ahead of the cut line. This is, I believe, his 5th pole of his career, 5th pole this season. So that team has been very good in terms of starting speed in qualifying results. And he's alongside of Laura Chung, who, as we saw, is the co-points leader right now with Nick Gunther, 34 points ahead of the cut line. So just trying to pad that cushion as she looks to move on to her first appearance in the round of 12, making the playoffs for the very first time in her Duracell Cup Series career. Row 2 is going to find a couple of non-playoff drivers looking to keep the streak going to 3 non-playoff drivers winning playoff races. Levi McIntyre are going to be on the inside of row 2 alongside of Carson Gum. Levi's been very quiet this pretty much the second half of the season. He's currently situated 25th in the point standings. That would be 9th highest of the drivers that did not make the playoffs. And then Carson Gum currently finds himself 36th in the point standings. Obviously, he looked like he was going to have a good run back at Gateway. Led a number of laps in that one, but fell short, finishing back, I think it was in 9th or 10th place after we had that kind of freak caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. But it should be a good one here today. It's been the round of debuting racetracks. Gateway, Chatham, and Nashville Superspeedway had never been previously run here in Duracell Cup Series competition. And we saw this racetrack had a lot of good racing in preseason Thunder testing, so hopefully it will play a good part into who's moving on and who is going home in terms of battling for the championship here in Season 6. But it's time to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports as we get ready to go racing.
Drivers, start your engines!
Right side of your screen, you will see the starting lineup for today's event. Your playoff drivers will be highlighted in yellow. Again, much like in the last 2 weeks, you will not see previous winners since we have never run a race here before. It's going to be brand new for these guys. Obviously, they would have had some laps during preseason Thunder, but that was during a testing session where you can come into pit road, into the garage area, back onto the racetrack at will. Field was quite spread out. It's going to be the first time where the pack is going to be all closed up together here for a green flag restart. 75 laps of racing here today. Pit road could be very important. Feel that this is going to be kind of like Gateway in terms of you need to have tire conservation for the long run. The concrete surface, much like Dover. You know, Dover is a tire shredder, so Nashville will be no exception. Well, RJ Bishop, Laura Chung would like to win their way into the round of 12 and give them 5 extra bonus points towards the reformatted second round playoff standings. Let's see what happens as we are racing in Music City. RJ Bishop going to come out of turn 4. He'll lead the first lap. Laura Chung had a challenge from Levi McIntyre through 1 and 2, but held strong on the outside line, so she will cross in second, and Carson Gum will cross in the third position, now under fire. Nice run there through 1 and 2 by Reggie Fogelman, who almost drove it in too deep. He almost got up into Laura Chung. Carried a ton of momentum down the front straightaway and nearly had a wreck right up here at the front of the field. I think the outside line is going to be the preferred line here today. Inside line will be able to move, I think, later on in the run when the pace starts to back down a bit, but a lot more speed, a lot more grip up on that top line, a lot more in the throttle time if you're in that second groove. And I feel that outside of potentially leapfrogging somebody on green flag pit stops, if you're going to make a pass for the win later on in this race, might have to do it high, wide, and handsome. Nick Gunther's now moved up into the 5th position. Remember, he and Laura Chung, co-points leaders, 34 points above the cut line. So with that little bit of breathing space, they can be a little bit aggressive here. I mentioned the fact that you win a race during a round, 5 bonus points per win carry over into the next round of the playoffs. So Chung and Gunther might both have that on their minds here. Just want to point out, Nick Gunther started this race from the 14th position. He's already up inside of the top 5, so obviously a car with very good launch. Benjamin Miles right behind him started in 16th. So Gunther and Miles We're on the outside of rows 7 and 8, and they're already up inside of our top 10. Here's our winner from a couple of weeks ago at Gateway, Caleb Fogler. Mentioned this, I think, much like Gateway, is going to be a track of tire conservation, so keep an eye on Fogler here, looking for his second win of the season, second win of his career. Levi McIntyre, who started third, dropped all the way back to 9th place. Carson Gum, who started in 4th, has drifted even further back. There he is. He's just now slotted into 15th behind playoff contender Quentin Moore, who's going to have a lot of pressure on him here today, that rookie cut line driver coming into this race. Got to manage the gap between himself, Collins, Johnson, Hoer, and Bishop. Those are the 4 that are going to try and displace him inside of that top 12. Could take a little bit of pressure off of himself if he can kind of move Destin Bolin or Zachary Fitzwater or Michael Dorman down into that cut line. It's got to be 3 spots up on Fitzwater, 4 up on Bolin, or 8 up on Norman. As of right now, I believe he is currently running ahead of all 3 of those drivers. There's Mitchell Collins, who is one of the drivers gunning for Quentin Moore, and or the driver that would be 12th in the standings, 2-time winner on the season, right now in 12th place. Trying to run down Benjamin Miles for 11th as we've got a side-by-side battle up here. Nick Gunther, Benjamin Miles, Caleb Fogler mixing it up for 5th place. Fogler going to look to the inside of Miles. See if there's any momentum on that inside line. Any grip, doesn't look like any right now. McIntyre with a late move off of turn 4, going to use the apron as he was trying to get a spot off of Dylan Young. That would have been for 8th position. As RJ Bishop continues to show the way. RJ getting his first career win earlier on this season at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Adding his name to a long list of first-time winners here this season. Laura Chung right behind him. Got her first win of her career. Jack Dunnard, Destin Bolin, Zachary Fitzwater, Quentin Moore, Rick Johnson, Will Hoer, Joshua Osborne, and Daniel Voiles all got their first career wins here in Season 6, and we've still got, including today, 8 more races left to go, so still an opportunity for another driver to be able to pick up their first career victory. We're looking at a driver to fit that moniker. You got to go back to 10th place, where you find Noah Hendrickson. As Laura Chung saw that line she took there through 1 and 2, trying to get some momentum. Teammates side by side for 3rd. Nick Gunther shows the nose to maybe go 3 wide. Not going to work. About Northeast Motorsports up here. The 48, the 24, and the 25 all in the mix. Their teammate Jack Dunnard's not that far behind. I think he last time by crossed in 16th or 17th as we're 3 wide again. This time Fogler in the middle, Miles up top side, and Gunther trying the bottom, but not going to work. You see that momentum the 25 of Miles got there off of turn 2 on the top. Able to get back to the throttle a lot sooner than other drivers are. Let's go on board with the Hertz Chevrolet Camaro as he's trying to run down his teammate Reggie Fogelman for 4th place and take a listen on how to get around Nashville Superspeedway. Feathering the throttle there as saw up ahead, Laura Chung starting to close up on RJ Bishop for the race lead here. RJ so far has led the first 14 laps of this race. He's got them all stacked up, single file behind him. Much like at Gateway and at Chatham, since this is the first time we've ever run here at Nashville Superspeedway, no idea what the fuel window is for these drivers, when they'll have to start thinking about hitting pit road. Nashville Superspeedway is a superspeedway really in name only. It's not really a superspeedway. Down here in 1 and 2, it's actually a bit of a heavy braking zone. The approach to 1 and 2 is entirely different from how you approach 3 and 4. Almost kind of like a Darlington in a way. Two entirely different ends of the racetrack. And of course, with the concrete surface, every time you approach one of these corners, it's entirely different from the lap before. There's Reggie Fogelman gonna make a move here. Looking for third on LaPlante. Not gonna work here, doesn't look like, although something I just noticed right there, he was able to keep some fairly good momentum on that inside line off of turn 2. Miles didn't get nearly as big a run around the outside of the 24 as he did before when he passed Nick Gunther about 5-6 laps ago. So looks like with the tires starting to wear down a bit, it looks like these drivers aren't able to get back to the throttle quite as soon. They don't have that grip in the rears as prevalently as they did earlier on in the run. But that move to the inside definitely costs Reggie Fogelman. Lost a spot to LaPlante, one to Caleb Fogler, and one to Nick Gunther. That's going to drop him back to, I believe, the 8th position, right ahead of Noah Hendrickson. Now let's find out where our drivers below the cut line are at. There is Mitchell Collins, 13th in playoff points, 10 points behind the cut line. He's currently positioned in 11th place. Actually, I think he just picked up 10th. Waiting for scoring to update here. I believe he just moved into the top 10. Actually, he moved into 9th. Getting around both Dylan Young and Levi McIntyre. He's trying to pull a gap on Quentin Moore. Quentin right now is right there in the 15th position. So we'll check and see where Destin Bull and Zachary Fitzwater are in relation to the 89. Mentioned that Ryan Butcher's in a must-win situation. He's working his way up there towards the top 10. Started 18th. He now makes his way around Dylan Young. That's for 12th. So he is slowly working his way up towards the front. He's laying down some very good lap times as well. Must-win situation, really, for the 78. He realizes it. Trying to find the Fitzwater machine. There he is. Zachary Fitzwater, 25th last time by. Now, Fitzwater was 1 point behind Destin Boland, so I believe as things run right now, Destin might potentially be the cut line driver. It might be Boland versus Collins for the final playoff position as things run right now. There's Michael Norman in the 22, who was 7 points above the cut line. Rick Johnson right behind him, his teammate, who was 14 below the cut line. Will Hoer started this race from dead last. He's been able to make some forward progress, now up to, I believe, the 32nd position. And there's Destin Boland, who right now would be passed by both Zachary Fitzwater and Quentin Moore, and I believe would be down as the cut line driver. He was 13 points ahead of Mitchell Collins, and so with Destin running last time by in 33rd and Collins running in now 9th, that's 24 positions difference, 24 points difference. The three-time winner, Destin Boland, currently is outside of the top 12. Still a long ways to go, though. Anything can still happen. Still got some pit stops that'll be coming up here as Noah Hendrickson makes his way around Mitchell Collins, Caleb Fogler, and Nick Gunther duking it out for 5th position. And Fogelman starting to work his way back up to the front. He might have brushed the wall right there off of turn 2. Got up really high off the second corner there. Still had some good momentum, carried it to the inside, down the back straightaway on Nick Gunther. That's going to cost him, though, as I think it's a bit of a bump right there up at turn 4 on that inside line that loses you momentum as well. I noticed the 24 and the 2 that last time by, they kind of bottom out. They dip down a bit, which of course would cause the front splitter to dig into the racing surface, scrubbing off speed and hurting your corner exit run onto the straightaway. Laura Chung has not let RJ Bishop get away. And right now, I think the 77 could work this to her advantage. Looking at lap times right now, RJ Bishop, Laura Chung, most of the top 10 are running in the 31.2s to mid-high 31.3s. The tire wear is obviously coming into play. Compare that to the 30.4 that RJ Bishop ran for his fastest lap of the day. That's a full second fall off right now, about 25 laps into this run. So there's about a second or so to be made. It's actually starting to close up to a second and a half to be made potentially. If you come to pit road, get fresh tires, and have a really good out lap. Laura Chung right now on the back bumper of RJ Bishop. If she came to pit road first between the two of them, herself and the 98, I believe she would cycle out to the race lead. I think, though, you would want to make sure you came down a very empty pit road. You don't want to have to deal with drivers either pulling into their pit stalls, coming out of their pit stalls. The less traffic you could deal with, the better. Now, granted, draft is important here at Nashville Superspeedway, but not, as I said, as prevalent as it is at superspeedways like Daytona, Talladega, tracks like that. How about this? First time RJ Bishop's going to feel a challenge. Laura Chung going to test the waters on the inside line. You could tell there she was not able to get back to the throttle through the center of the corner. Bishop's going to hang on for the spot. That was smart by Laura Chung, though. See if it works, see if it grips, see if you can maybe get alongside of him. There was a gap from Chung back to LaPlante, so it didn't cost her the second position. She didn't get caught out in that inside line and get freight trained, as we've seen a couple of drivers have happened to them here so far in this race. A little experimentation there by the driver of the 77. Benjamin Miles tried to make a move there on LaPlante. That's going to cost him. Caleb Fogler's going to go around for fourth. Nick Gunther tried the inside line there, running the apron on the front straightaway, as did Noah Hendrickson. And, ooh, this is close. Hendrickson got close to that right rear quarter panel of the 55 of Nick Gunther. Who, again, Nick Gunther right now and Laura Chung, where they're running, they're automatically moving on to the next round of the playoffs, regardless of if they win or not. Being 34 points above the cut line, they basically needed to finish today inside the top 25 in the running order, and they were guaranteed spots in the round of 12. Well, they've gone above and beyond in terms of that. They were both running up inside of the top 10, Chung up inside of the top 5. Ooh, two different lines right there. You see Laura Chung almost a full groove higher through 1 and 2 than RJ Bishop. That could have been for two reasons. Number one, could have been trying to get a run off of 2 down the back straightaway to put the pressure on RJ Bishop, who's now coming to pit road. Might have also been to get some clean air to the nose of that 77 so he had turned through the center of the corner. Bishop, Chung, LaPlante, Nick Gunther, they all came to pit road. Caleb Fogler stays out to lead a lap. Benjamin Miles there as well. One thing we've definitely seen the last couple of races are the non-playoff drivers have not been afraid to go unorthodox in terms of pit strategy, realizing that they have no championship they're battling for, so they can do some experimentation in preparation for Season 7. As now, Fogler, Miles, McIntyre, Ryan Butcher, and Carson Gum on pit road, and you can see some drivers coming out of pit lane right around these race leaders. This is what I was talking about, that congestion on pit road, having to maybe check up for somebody could cost you time on the racetrack. There's the 78 of Ryan Butcher. He was 5th last time by. He's been doing a great job working his way up through the field. Must-win situation for the driver of the Gatorade Toyota. As we're looking for RJ Bishop, there he is. He got a nice gap between himself and Laura Chung, who's under fire potentially for second place. Those pit stops took place between laps 30 to 31, which means there's one more pit stop coming up here before the conclusion of this race. Let's see if anybody's staying out that extra lap, if that helps them or not. Doesn't look like it. Fogler's going to cycle around where he was. 4th or 5th position. Benjamin Miles going to do about the same. Here's Mitchell Collins, though. He picked up quite a number of spots, it looked like. I think he's going to be up in 8th position. I think he picked up 2 spots there on that pit stop. Quentin Moore looks like he might have also made a pickup, and look at Ryan Butcher on those fresh tires, right up against the wall, going to go around the outside of both James Qualls and Dylan Young as he gets one step closer to the top 10. Now, I said I believed that Ryan Butcher needs to win this race in order to move on. With seeing Will Hoer and Rick Johnson as far back as they were, and Destin Bolin and Zachary Fitzwater, there may conceivably be a point scenario where Ryan could point his way into the next round. But if the 66 and the 12 even make their way up into the top 30, then Ryan Butcher is back into the must-win situation. Let's find out where those two drivers particularly are. Fitzwater in the 66 and Destin Bolin in the 12, and oh my gosh. There's Fitzwater. He's the last car running. He is 42nd on the grid right now, is Zachary Fitzwater. So right now, there is no doubt he is below the cut line. He needs a caution. Destin Bolin, where is he at? The 12 is right now in 23rd. So I think Bolin could be safe. Right now, it would be Fitzwater displaced by Mitchell Collins. Destin Bolin was 33 points ahead of Ryan Butcher, running 23rd. There is no conceivable way that Ryan Butcher could displace Destin Bolin. Rick Johnson's running behind the 12. Will Hoer is running behind the 12. So right now I believe it is Fitzwater out, Mitchell Collins in. Bolin and Moore currently are safe. And one driver I noticed back here, and I don't know how this would affect things. I don't think it would, but it's certainly not where he wants to be. Charles Sanford back here in the 41st position. Charles had a 17-point gap between himself and the cut line. Now, based on the fact that Rick Johnson's just ahead of him, Will Hoer's only a couple of positions up, I think Charles is currently still going to, where he's running, make it into the round of 12, but it's not the way he wants to go in. Certainly not the momentum he wants to have. As Nick Gunther's worked his way up into 3rd place, first time that he's made an appearance on the podium. Gunther looking for his season-leading 5th win on the year. And as things right now stand, if we take a look at the current running order, based off of where you see everyone positioned inside of this top 30, RJ Bishop, Laura Chung, Nick Gunther, Mitchell Collins, Quentin Moore, Kyle Matthews, and I would even say Ali Oliera, Jack Dunnard. They are running where they need to be right now for them to be able to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Michael Norman is way down in 33rd. Charles Sanford down in 41st. But with the struggles of the other drivers right now below them in the point standings, while it seems kind of odd, I believe that where they are, they still would be moving on to the next round of the playoffs. Again, though, I'm going to throw out the disclaimer that I've thrown out many times before, is we got a car on pit road already. That's Benjamin Miles in the 25. Is he making his final pit stop right now? Fuel window would be open to make it the rest of the way, since they can go about 30 some odd laps. No, the fuel. Ooh, wow, we're right on borderline the fuel window. Does he have damage? It's hard to see. This is a regularly scheduled stop for the 25. Either this is right on the fuel window or something untoward's happened with the 25 car of Miles. I'm not sure which it is. But going back to what I was going to say, the disclaimer that I'm just trying to do the calculations in my head. More often than not, they are inaccurate. Normally, by the time we get to the end of the race and I actually run them through the calculating process, I end up being, even if it is 1 point, off of what I speculated. So, do not take absolutely what I'm saying as gospel. Wait until the race is over, wait until the official calculations take place, and we will then get the word on who is in and who is out. I'm just basically trying to, with all the moving pieces, all the fluctuation of points, trying to give a general idea, just based on what I'm seeing, of who I think is going to be moving on to the next round of the playoffs and who will not. If indeed my thought process is correct, though, going to be a tough break for a few of the rookies. We had 7 rookies make it into the playoffs here this season. And as they run right now, we would have 3 of them eliminated from moving on to the next round of the championship battle. Benjamin Miles has returned to the track, but he is 1 lap down. Question is, though, did they pit too soon? Can he make it the rest of the way? Was that the strategy call right there for Benjamin Miles to pick up his first win of the season? Benjamin Miles, last week, did something that hasn't happened for quite a bit of this season. Got himself out of dead last in points. It's actually really close down there at the bottom of the point stands between Miles, Voiles, Cody Lamas, Reese Banks. Well, Miles jumped up 2 spots to 40th. Voiles jumped up 2 spots to 39th. Cody Lamas fell 2 to 41st. And Reese Banks is now the driver in the cellar of the point standings. The rookie out of Lake Effect Autosport. He's 42nd in points now. So Benjamin Miles on the rise, and we'll see if that strategy call is going to be enough for him to continue to climb in the point standings, as Mitchell Collins had that tough break last week, got involved in that wreck, finished dead last at Chatham. Really was a wreck that wasn't of his own making. He was just kind of an innocent bystander when they were, what were they, 3? I think almost 4 wide through the S's, through 2, 3, and 4. Hit the tire barrier, and his day was done. Nothing he could do very early on in the race. Minus 10 coming into this one, the 2-time winner, and he's done exactly what was needed to make sure he's going to move on to the next round, and also give an attaboy to the 89 of Quentin Moore. Last thing you want to be is the driver on the cut line coming into an elimination race. A lot of pressure on you, trying to keep aware of where everybody else is running. Quentin Moore was that driver here today, and right now he is firmly positioned up inside of the top 10. He was 9th last time by. Ooh, almost got hooked by Kyle Matthews there. A little contact between those two as they're 3 wide stacked up behind them, and Ryan Butcher continues to try and fight his way up there. Ryan that time by crossed the line in the 9th position, just picked up that 9th spot from Quentin Moore. Question is, does he have enough laps though? We're closing in on 25 to go and still 1 more pit stop remaining. Kyle Matthews had a damaged race car at the Chatham race last week. He's doing a good job here today. He is, I believe now just fell to 12th or 13th with Walls and Gum getting around him, but up inside of the top 15 with 16 points ahead of the cut line, so it looks like the defending champ will be moving on to the next round of the playoffs. And Allie Liera had a great run last week. Very impressive performance for her based off of pit strategy. Was 5th in playoff points coming to this race, 16 to the good, and right now the 16 is currently, last time by, scored in 17th place. There's Jack Dunnard there as well. 3rd in overall point standings. Liera and Dunnard right now in a bit of traffic, but they are where they need to be to make sure they are going to move on to the next round of the postseason. Ryan Butcher's trying to run down Levi McIntyre. That would be for 8th. Certainly wouldn't be for lack of trying if Ryan Butcher misses out on advancing into the round of 12, which next week will be at Hillside Raceway to kick things off. It's going to be the first time this entire playoffs that we'll be going to a track that's previously made an appearance here on the Duracell Cup Series schedule. So based off the numbers, the drivers are about 9 to 10 laps away from when they would make their final pit stop of the day. The big question mark is that car right there, Benjamin Miles in the 25. Can he make it the rest of the way after we saw him make a pit stop? And we have a driver out of the race I just noticed as well. Mechanical problem has apparently occurred on the 87 of Ryan Brommer, the driver out of Auto Junction Racing. An engine clutch. This happened about 3 laps ago, and he's taken his car back to the garage area. Got it off track, no caution, we stay green. But a tough break there for driver 87. If we're able to get footage of that, we'll show it to you courtesy of the NNSCRA split cam. A tough break there. Ryan Brommer 29th in points coming into this race, and didn't really talk much about him here today. Ryan started this race from the 22nd position, was running mid-pack most of this race. Top 4 have broken away. Then there's another pack of 3, Fogler, Collins, and Hendrickson. And then it's a huge gap before you get back to Levi McIntyre, and then this group that involves a lot of playoff drivers, and Butcher and Matthews, and Keith Batson's right there in the 39. Haven't talked much about the 2-time winner. Keith was 7th in points coming to this race, 13 points to the good. He's been doing a very good job here, just keeping himself up inside of the top 20. That last time by, he was 14th. On the running order, just ahead of his teammate there, Nathan Ormond in the 34. Cody Lamas, high, wide, and handsome in the 13 car. Battling with Kyle Matthews. That's for, I believe, 11th place. All right, let's find out where Fitzwater and Boland are, because those are the 2 right now that would be settling out who's moving on, who is not. Destin Boland right now still scored in the 21st position. We're waiting for scoring to update here. I don't believe that is correct. No, it is correct. He is 21st. And Zachary Fitzwater is mired still back here in 40th, last car on the lead lap. So Destin Boland right now, I think, is still safe. Let's find out where Rick Johnson's at, although we might have a pit stop here. Nope, just Nick Gunther battling with Austin LaPlante. Want to find the 93 and the 83. There's the 83. He's running behind the 12 car right now. And I believe Rick Johnson is doing the same. Yeah, he's way back here as Rick Johnson, so it doesn't look like Johnson or Hoer will be moving on to the next round unless we get a caution or something drastically changes here in the final run to the checkers, which is closing in on 15 to go. Ryan Butcher's doing a great job trying to get himself up here to the front, but he's right now got over 7.5 seconds between himself and the race leader, Ryan Butcher. That's a lot of ground to have to make up without the aid of a caution. And then I believe Zachary Fitzwater, with running where he is, he would be the 4th driver. That would be below the cut line. So Boland, Quentin Moore, Michael Norman, Mitchell Collins, they would just barely make it in. Well, RJ Bishop has led all but 3 laps today. Caleb Fogler led 1 lap. Joshua Osborne has led 2, and that was just based off of drivers staying out during our cycle of green flag pit stops back around lap 30. It has been driver 98 all day today. And remember, drivers ended up carrying in 5 points per win from the regular season into the first round of the playoffs. If a driver wins during a round of the playoffs, then the 5 bonus points for that win carry over into the next round. So RJ Bishop, if he were to close out the deal here, same for Laura Chung, same for Nick Gunther, which right now are your podium drivers, they would get the number 1 seed in the round of 12 with the 5 bonus points for a victory. Everybody else would be at 3,000 points. the race winner, be it a playoff driver, would have 3,005. But Austin LaPlante going to try and spoil the party here, try and make it 3 straight playoff races where a non-playoff driver goes to victory lane. Then you've still got that wild card of Benjamin Miles out there on whether or not he can go the rest of the distance. Felt like he might have come to pit road a little too soon. I don't think the fuel window was quite yet open to make it the rest of the way, but only time will tell. Should be getting around the time when these drivers will have to hit pit road. I'd say in the next lap or so, they'll be on pit lane, because they've been about 31 laps now on this run. If they can go another 3 laps, then I think Benjamin Miles might be good to go. Well, you saw the flare coming out of the exhaust pipes there on the 98 car, though. He's definitely out of the throttle through 1 and 2. So he may be going to come to pit road this time. Running awfully high if he is, but nope, he is going to come to pit road, just kind of arcing it there. Gunther and LaPlante are in. Big strategy call there for Laura Chung. Staying out an extra lap. Let's see how this pans out for her. This is going to be a much slower lap time for her, but she will have the fresher tires, a lap or 2 fresher tires than everybody else when she comes out. Looking to see if anybody else stayed out. Caleb Fogler did. Levi McIntyre, Ryan Butcher. Chung's in this time. There's Fogler. McIntyre, Butcher, Dunnard, Gum in this lap as well. Shelton and Norman. Let's try and see if we can find the 98 car. Ooh, look at this battle off of pit road between Bishop, LaPlante, and Gunther. LaPlante tried to win the battle off of pit lane there. That was nearly a pass maybe for the race lead for the win. LaPlante's going to leapfrog Nick Gunther. So nice pit stop by the 48 team. But now what about the 77? And of course still we're waiting for the word on the 25. Oh man, we've had another driver out of the race. Mechanical problem. Keith Batson, playoff contender. Engine camshaft, we're being told. This was 2 laps ago. And he's going to finish in 41st. Does that take Batson and put him below the cut line? Look at this. Laura Chung trying to get back up into the throttle, but not going to be able to get RJ Bishop. Bishop's going to go back to the point. LaPlante is there, though, in the 48 car. Looking to see, did the 25 of Miles, did he come to pit road? And it appears that he did not, but it doesn't look like he cycled around to the lead at all either. He's still being scored back in 37th on the lead lap. He had lost a lap to the leaders before. Where's the 25 car at? There he is. Yeah, he's 35th. So that strategy did not work out for him. Boy, something happened to Levi McIntyre on the pit stop. He's all the way back in 39th place now, and Levi was up inside the top 15 prior to the pit stop. Here's LaPlante. Big run on the back bumper of RJ Bishop. Can LaPlante pick up his first win on the season? Lord Chung cycled to 3rd, Nick Gunther to 4th, Mitchell Collins up there in 5th. And it's Fogler and Hendrickson 6th and 7th. How about Chris Dollerton? Where did the Daytona 500 winner come from? He is ahead of Kyle Matthews right now in the 8th spot. Matthews in 9th. And Ryan Butcher battling with Jack Dunnard in 10th place. Doesn't look like, unless we get a caution or something here, and I'm not even sure a caution can help him. I'm not sure Ryan Butcher's going to move on, but boy, he got a strong car on the long run. Did driver 78. Don't think he's going to move on to the next round of the playoffs, but I am a little bit concerned there about Keith Batson's DNF. Not certain if there's any driver that'd be able to take advantage of that, though. We already know that Zachary Fitzwater, with where he is positioned, he will be more than likely falling out of the playoffs. He, last time by, was scored in 40th, last car on the lead lap. So he wouldn't even pass Keith Batson in points to displace him. He was 14 points behind Batson. coming into this race. Collins just made a move around Nick Gunther for the 4th position, so just securing himself a spot into the round of 12. Rick Johnson, he was 27 points behind Keith coming into this race, so he would have had to have finished in 14th or better, and Rick is running in 38th. And then Will Hoer would have had to have finished 18 positions ahead, 13th or better, and Will Hoer is running 32nd. So I think even despite the mechanical problem, Keith Batson still had enough of a cushion, and with where everybody is running, I think he still would be moving on to the next round of the championship battle. A lot of drivers struggling back there at the rear of the field. Reggie Fogelman, we saw him battling up inside of the top 10, top 5 early going of this race. He's now mired back in 34th. Last week's winner, Matt Haas, is back in 36th. It's been all about pit strategy here today at Nashville Superspeedway. And it has been all R.J. Bishop, who has led 65 of the 71 completed laps. And he's looking to lead these final 3.5 en route to his 2nd career victory. He got a win back at Chicago Motor Speedway that locked him into the playoffs. And he is looking to be the first playoff driver here in Season 6 to pick up a playoff victory. Austin LaPlante has lost a little bit of ground there. He tried running a little bit higher in 3 and 4. That didn't seem to work out for him. Now he's a half groove lower through 1 and 2. Tries to pick up the throttle and pull back to the bumper of the Croker Monster Energy Ford Mustang. Catching him is one thing, but passing him is another. We've seen drivers try and make passes on the inside, and it hasn't really worked out. If you're going to pass someone, you got to catch them napping and have them leave a lane open for you on the top side, and I don't know if LaPlante has got a strong enough car to be able to get up there. Any run he's generated the last couple of laps, he's only closed it up to about a car length on the 98. Might be hitting dirty air, getting the car tight on entry. He's only going to have a couple more shots at it here. Might have to send it down the inside and try a slide job on R.J. Bishop. Remember, 48 has nothing to lose. Not a playoff contender, just looking to end out the season with as many checkered flags as possible. R.J. Bishop, if that move is made, you got to wonder, will he keep his foot in the throttle? Would he fight to defend? Or would he just be happy to get out of Dodge with a top 2 finish here after leading the most laps and move on to the next round of the playoffs? Remember, 5 bonus points towards the round of 12 if R.J. Bishop's able to keep the Ally Chevrolet at bay for this final lap, which is upcoming. LaPlante, the closest he's been. Ooh, I think he checked up a tiny bit there through the center of 3 and 4. As the white flag is in the air, 1 more lap to go here at Nashville Superspeedway. R.J. Bishop, what line does he run? Runs it about a half groove off the bottom. LaPlante follows in his tire tracks. The dirty air looks like he got tight through the center of the corner. LaPlante did, loses ground. I don't think he's close enough to make a move. R.J. Bishop's just got to hit his marks here through 3 and 4. Well, R.J. Bishop just took the checkered flag, actually. I miscounted the laps. I just pulled, who was that? Somebody back in NASCAR ended up miscounting the laps or something. I think they had the checkered flag called 1 lap early. I had it called 1 lap late. Well, there you go. R.J. Bishop's your winner here at Nashville Superspeedway. And that was a fail. Can't wait to see the comment section after that one. But R.J. Bishop, with the checkered flag officially, is going to clinch himself a spot into the round of 12. Comes the first playoff driver to win a playoff race here this season. And he led 69 laps. Nice. Standing should be official. And I'm pretty certain that based off of the finishing results here, I have a pretty good idea of who the 4 drivers are that will not be advancing into the next round of the playoffs. But R.J. Bishop with the win. Austin LaPlante, the highest finishing non-playoff contender. In second, he was the only non-playoff driver inside the entire top 5. Chung, Collins, and Gunther in 3rd through 5th. Caleb Fogler brings home 6th, 7th for Noah Hendrickson. Chris Dollerton worked his way up to 8th there in the closing stages. Good run for that team. I know they were disappointed not to make it into the playoffs, but they're just trying to get consistent finishes to end out the season. Kyle Matthews did what he needed to do, top 10. He'll move on to the next round as he attempts to defend his championship from last year. Ryan Butcher, yeoman's job there for that 78 team. Started 18th, slowly worked his way up there on the long green flag, runs into the top 10. I think he just needed a caution or two, though, to be able to fight even further up as he was in a must-win situation. Cody Lamas, good run there in 11th for him. Quentin Moore, Jack Dunnard, they'll be moving on to the next round of the playoffs with 12th and 13th. Michael Norman made a jump up there late to 18th, so he will definitely move on to the next round. We knew he was going to move on to the next round where he was running before the last round of green flag pit stops, but certainly was going to be closer than what it actually is, with him finishing inside of the top 20. And then Destin Bolin there in 27th. There's not the momentum that the three-time winner wants going into next week, but I think it is going to be enough for him to advance into the round of 12. The drivers that I believe are going to be eliminated are Ryan Butcher, meeting in that technically must-win situation, did not win, so I believe he's eliminated. And then your others are right down here at the bottom of the finishing results. Will Hoer, 34th. Rick Johnson, 36th. They were both below the cut line. And Fitzwater was only 2 points to the good, and he finished his last car on the lead lap in 39th place. I believe it's going to be the 66, the 78, the 83, and the 93 that are going to be the eliminated drivers here in this round of 16. Looks like Benjamin Miles could not make it on fuel. The strategy call did not work. He finishes the only car one lap down. And then Keith Batts and Ryan Brommer, mechanical problems plaguing both of them. Batson very lucky that he had that 13-point cushion between himself and the cut line, because this mechanical problem does not take him out of advancing into the round of 12. But there's a lot of drivers right here that are not going to have the best of momentum heading into that next round. Destin Bolin, Ali Liera, both down here. Charles Sanford and Keith Batson as well, near the bottom of the finishing results heading into Hillside next week. A lot of times it's about momentum from round to round of the playoffs, and we'll see if that quartet of drivers will be able to bounce back after the point stands are reformatted from this week into the next. But congratulations to RJ Bishop, his second career win, second win on the season. He now joins Nick Gunther, Keith Batson, Mitchell Collins, and his teammate Destin Bolin as a multi-time winner here in Season 6. And he'll carry those 5 bonus points from this round into the round of 12, putting him at the very top by his lonesome as the number 1 seed. But thank you all for tuning in to today's race here from Nashville Super Speedway. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We showed you your full figure results. You're now looking at your final point standings. The drivers below 12th in points, they are not moving on. The drivers 12th place on up, they are going to be your remaining warriors in preparation for round 2 of the Duracell Cup Series playoffs. But until next week at Hillside, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.